All right. So it's really our first time out of studio where I'm out here in front of the camera. You know what I'm saying? People are used to looking at me here, well, actually hearing me and not seeing me. I was in radio most of my career. People say I had a face for radio, so you know what I'm saying. A tragic kind of turn of events out here while we're doing this stand-up out here today. Hey, what's up, man? How are you? Here you go. Yeah, there you go. All right. When we talk about the shooting that occurred here last night at the CHOP, I mean, basically right outside of the CHOP borders, but you know, right here in the CHOP zone, and some of the things that occurred out here. One, I do want to say this is that, you know, the live stream that we put out there, or that I filmed last night, that you guys heard me film last night, you know, that is exactly just what I saw during that time as usual, and that's why we do the live stream, you know. And I mean, I tell people a lot all the time, you could take out the audio. Sometimes I don't have the best voice to listen to, and you know, watch it as you will. And I say that because, you know, it's a lot of people are hitting me like, well, in the video it was this and the video was that. It's like, man, the video is just a video. People also need to recognize as well is that video starts exactly where it starts, you know. And this is our form of journalism here, where we, you know, if we capture it on the phones, we capture it, you know. And so that's the evening as I saw it. So, you know, if there's other events that transpired, clearly the shooting transpired before my video started. So there's other events that transpired there. You know, I would say that my video isn't necessarily the end all from a beginning, you know, on point. It's just what we saw right here. So I wanted to jump into a few things. First of all, we got a release here from the Seattle Fire Department, and Chief Scoggins' office. I'm gonna just kind of read this here, and then we'll put it up on Twitter, and are we able to put this on our website, or I guess we can put it on our blog, huh? We should send it over to Jay if you have it, so he can put it up on the blog. So basically, I'll just read a few parts here. This is from the Seattle Fire Department and Chief Scoggins. This is in regard to the response last night, to the response. On June 20th, 2020, at approximately 2:19 a.m., 911 received reports of a shooting on 10th Avenue and East Pine. SPD officers responded to the scene, and Seattle Fire Department dispatch was notified. Due to Seattle Fire Department's existing policy of staging and requesting law enforcement to first secure the scene before entering for scenes of violence, SFD units staged at Broadway and Pine at 2:25 a.m. This is a standard procedure for any scene of violence, and is also currently in place for any fire and medical emergency inside the area deemed the CHOP due to firefighter safety. Between 2:26 and 2:28 a.m., the Seattle Police Department staged at 12th Avenue and Cherry Street and initially entered the scene, but were unable to secure the location for Seattle Fire Department medics. Simultaneously, volunteer medics provided medical assistance to the first gunshot victim. The first victim was transported via private vehicle and arrived at 2:42 a.m. at Harborview Medical Center. The first victim was pronounced deceased at Harborview at 2:53 a.m. There were multiple 911 calls, and at approximately 2:51 a.m. reports surfaced of a second gunshot victim nearby at 11th and Pike. SPD officers and SFD medics were already on the scene staging due to the previous call and needed SPD presence to enter the scene. Simultaneously, the second victim was transported to Harborview Medical Center in a private vehicle and arrived with a major gunshot wound at 3:06 a.m. That victim is in critical condition. So basically, you know, take away from this, there's also a log here. They also have the log of the timeline as far as when calls came in and when they were staged and positioned and everything else. And we'll see, we'll have, when our colleagues put this up there on the Twitter, and also on the website somewhere. So basically, what we hear from the fire department and Chief Scoggins is that they were out there, they were staged, they were waiting for police, and by the time that they were able to get a green light from the police, that the victims in both cases were moved, were transported or evacuated by the medics. And we saw some of that last night. Like I said, my video came in and exactly where it came in. You guys saw that, but we did see where the victims inside were transported, and we also saw where they were waiting for the medics. And so that's where Chief Scoggins and is on with that. But I'll be honest with you, Chief. And guys that fire, what I'm saying, sometimes a release or something like this, it might not be enough. If you're open, what I'm saying, man, I would really like to talk to the chief, and I mean, so the chief can be able to further explain the landscape that at the firefighters faced, but then also be able to address some of the concerns or the questions that are out here. So, what I'm saying, Chief, if you're up for it, let me know. I think that in the interest of like public information and things like that, if you could spare a few moments out here, that would be great, and we could discuss it with you further. For a lot of people that are new, maybe watching here today, we've interviewed Chief Scoggins, I think maybe 2 or 3 times since the CHOP became the CHOP, back when it was the Chaz and the CHOP, because the chief was actually somebody, him and some of his co-workers from Seattle Department of Transportation and Seattle Public Utilities. Those are highly visible people who've been out here almost every day. And so he's always been accessible for an interview and to ask questions when they might arise. So we're still waiting for a statement or an interview or information from the actual organizers over here and I'm pointing over here to my right, but that's Cal Anderson Park. We're waiting for some of the organizers and their statements or their comments from last night as to, what is the CHOP's position here? What's the CHOP saying occurred? What was their safety things and everything else? So it would be good as well. We want to be able to get the CHOP, on camera. Somebody from them. I've been on that since early this morning. I think you probably could tell my voice. We didn't get much sleep out here, but we've been on that since early this morning, being able to get some kind of statement from the organizers there at the CHOP. And I mean, one of the issues that we've constantly faced, not only me as a small independent journalist here, but also our big media here in Seattle, our affiliate stations, national media and international media, is one of the issues that's been faced here is like, man, information. It's been very difficult at times to get information out of the CHOP or to be able to, to sit down and everything else. And so, but we're staying on it. We literally stood out there for quite a long time this morning, hoping to be able to speak to somebody who could speak to the issue. They did say that they're getting their things together, and that they would be able to at least address this morning's incident right here, on live stream. But another part to this though, we gotta, please, sorry, somebody just sent me might be some pertinent information here, is right behind us, and we wanted to respect their privacy, but right behind us and less than 40 feet from here is the actual scene where this young man, Lorenzo Anderson, 19 years old, lost his life early this morning. And there's a lot of friends, there's family over there, there's flowers and a candlelight vigil that's sitting over there. And their position, when I talk to some of them, the actual family members and friends that are over there, as you can imagine, not really comfortable being on camera at this time, a very emotional state over there. What they were saying is that from their perspective, so now you got a lot of perspectives here, because we're also, the medics, and you guys have been following the stream, the medics, their tent is just another 25 feet from here at Rancho Bravo, the medics are no longer here right now, and they have a breakdown of how everything occurred last night too. And so what some of the family members are over there saying, and family members and friends, are they're saying that they don't really have an issue with the fire department. They have an issue with people blocking the way for fire to enter. And so I didn't see in our video, and that's why I said live stream is right there, and I don't know how many attempts or attempt was made prior or anything like that. And the video again speaks for itself. But you know, the family members that we spoke to over there, they're pretty emotional and they're not happy with the chop. You know what I'm saying? They're not happy with the chop, and they feel that how everything devolved yesterday. Going over here to the medical tent, they're saying that, you know, I mean, that it's not equipped to be able to serve somebody with a gunshot wound, and what they're saying is that fire and police should have actually been able to get in here faster. And so that's what the family, some of the family and friends, at least when I spoke to them right there off of camera. Of course, we want to be able to continue to follow that up. But as you can imagine, it's literally only been 13 hours since the incident occurred out here. The family is very emotional sitting over there. And then when we talked to some of the medics early this morning, some of the medics had a different position on the emergency response in here to the chop. What they said is that they sent somebody up to Firehouse 25, and at Firehouse 25, which is 3 blocks up here to the east of me, that Firehouse 25 was non-responsive to them. Want to talk to the medics here. It's probably going to be after 7 p.m. to be able to follow up with them. But the end result today right now is that the medical tent that used to be right here, I know it's off camera for you guys, but the medical tent that used to be here staffed by volunteer medics is today empty. It's totally empty. And a big part of that is that, you know, the medics are not feeling comfortable returning into the space at the moment for various different reasons going on out here. And now when we talk about the shooting here last night, the first shooting, you know, we didn't eyewitness it, but I mean, all the information that we're hearing here on the ground is that the shooter and the victim most likely knew each other. You know, that's the information that we're hearing from a lot of eyewitnesses and everything else. You know, I've held off on being like, you know, a confirmation of this or that, because, you know, unless somebody can really, you know, unless they could really come out here and say it directly, then, you know, we would prefer people to say that, like, hey man, this is what it is, this is who I saw and everything else. And like anywhere, I mean, a murder investigation, people get very quiet, you know. But I'm pretty firm and are pretty sure in being able to say that the first shooting that was out here, that the shooter and the victim most likely knew each other. The second shooting there's a lot of mystery around that, at least from this side. I think you guys saw on the live stream that it was like we were heading up to 12th, and Calligraphy was like, yo, I heard gunshots not too long ago down there on 11th. Well, he said 12th, but we ended up turning down 11th, and just so happened to stumble upon that scene right there, where again medics were offering first aid. Medics were there offering first aid and trying to get the victim out of there. And we saw that they actually took, you know, again, a personal vehicle and took them from the chop and took them up to Harborview. So, you know, it's a lot of different dynamics on the ground. You know, the family feels. The family is actually very passionate. The first victim here of Lorenzo Anderson, the family is very passionate back there. And what they say is like, they're like, hey man, you know what? the chief or the fire department it wasn't the issue. They feel that, and I don't know if this is firsthand or somebody else told them or they were here or however it is, you know what I'm saying? But what they're feeling is that like the medic one wanted to do their job, but they weren't able to do their job. Is basically the position over there from a lot of family and friends that I spoke to earlier. We want to be able to continue to stay on that and again get their position. According to the Seattle Fire Department, to Chief Scoggins, what he's saying is that his emergency equipment was there staged. They were waiting for SPD to be able to get a green light in there. We pull it up here again. They were waiting to get a green light in there. And that by the time, he says, and initially entered the scene, but we were unable to secure the location. SPD entered the scene. They were unable to secure the location for Seattle Fire Department medics. Simultaneously, volunteer medics provided assistance for the first gunshot victim. And so kind of what we're hearing from the Seattle Fire Department is like, it's their policy that they can't move in unless there's the area is secure. And the only people that can secure the area is the Seattle Police Department. And when Seattle Police Department moved in to clear the area, that the medics had then at that point, the medics here inside the zone had already transferred or evacuated the first gunshot wound victim, and a similar situation with the second gunshot wound victim. So it's kind of developing here. I know it's lots of questions and everything else. I just kind of wanted to be able to get out here real quick and talk to everybody. Of course we're gonna be out here for, like we're always out here. I've been on this story since May 29th. And it's gonna be real interesting. What's up, man? It's gonna be real interesting here because who's the mayor, who's the chief, who are these people going to talk to and communicate with over here, you know what I'm saying, at the CHOP. I think one of the biggest things that we've talked about from this side is just like, okay, well, man, where is the leadership? And, we're waiting for whoever it is. This is now the time, you know what I'm saying? Up until this point, it's kind of been like, well, we're waiting for people to formalize or a leaderless resistance, a different type of communication. I mean, if that's what it is, that's what it is. But, I think that most likely, this is really the time for whoever is running the CHOP. You know what I'm saying? We know a lot of people over here. We've interviewed a ton of people and everything else. Imagine since, I don't know what's today, 24. We've been out here 19, 20 days of coverage, basically, right here on the CHOP. So people are there, but this is the time because the other issue that's here, we've got some reporting coming out, is that you got a lot of the neighbors who are here who want to be supportive. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these neighbors have been supportive over here. A lot of these small businesses have been supportive over here, but what they're saying as well, and not all of them, you can't speak for all the neighbors, but we find that a lot of neighbors here in Capitol Hill, especially around the CHOP, they're a bit divided. You got some who are like totally supportive, and you got others who are like, man, this needs to end. But one of the biggest things, though, is like people in the neighborhood, in the CHOP, who live, the actual permanent residents around here, they want these guys to bring this under control. They want it to be able to be calm. They want the music down. They've circulated the letters saying that they want music down, at early hours, and for there to be more actual control here in the CHOP by the people who organize the CHOP. So last night into early this morning, we saw the overnight population of here kind of shrink, for sure. It's people who have left. It's people who are like, man, this is okay. It's people who have left, and there very well be more people now on the way. You know what I'm saying? But we're going to continue to monitor the situation over here. Hopefully today, it would be great if I know the fire chief was real busy, but it'd be great if we would be able to speak to the chief sometime today, tonight, Also, if the group of organizers over there at the CHOP, if they're ready to come out, you know what I'm saying, on camera and be able to put whatever their position is. I think some of you guys have been following me for a long time out here. The big thing about me is freedom of speech. The big thing about me is being able to talk to everybody, getting opinions and everything else and point of views. And that's why I'm like big on like, man, well, let's talk to the fire department. Let's talk to the CHOP. Let's talk to the medics. Let's talk to the family and everything else. We want to be able to give everybody a point of view here, you know, usually through an iPhone. But so we'll continue to reach out to Chief Scoggins, to the CHOP. I can tell you a lot of the family members and friends that are just behind our camera over there, out of camera sight. It's a very emotional, it's a very emotional scene over there right now. You know what I'm saying? Very emotional scene this going on. And we'll continue to bring some coverage over here from the CHOP as we usually do later on tonight. Not sure what time it'll be. As we do every night, we'll walk the perimeter here and, you know, see what stories develop. But like I said, just wanted to come out here and kind of, you know, update everybody as to, you know, recent developments of what we've seen out here. And at least in my email box, the only official statement that we got was actually from the fire department. So, you know, we haven't heard from anybody else in city government. And we, of course, like I said, we haven't heard from anybody else over here in the CHOP as of yet as to, you know, what their official position is on last night's event. But I think even bigger than that is like, you know, what's the big picture here? So definitely want to give everybody a platform that's relevant to this story, you know, to use this platform to communicate out to you, the general public, and to people interested in this story actually all around the world. So I'll be back live, and when we do our walk, like a lot of people you might not have seen last night's video, we kind of do, well, the video before the actual shooting, you'll see that, you know, we walk around, we talk to people, we interview people, we all kinds of beliefs, affiliations, you know, religion and everything else, because that way, talking to as many people as possible that have a relevancy to the story, it helps us all understand this story better. So anyways, look, I'm going to get out of here. Want to remind everybody, follow me on Twitter at OMARISAL or ConvergeMedia, which is at www.